Jai Hind. This is the reading of Hind Swaraj or Indian Home Rule by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. I shall be reading chapter 18, Education. Reader, in the whole of our discussion, you have not demonstrated the necessity for education. We always complain of its absence among us. We notice a movement for compulsory education in our country. The Maharaja Gaikwad has introduced it in his territories. Every eye is directed towards them. We bless the Maharaja for it. Is all this effort then of no use? Editor. If we consider our civilization to be the highest, I have regretfully to say that much of the effort you have described is of no use. The motive of the Maharaja and other great leaders who have been working in this direction is perfectly pure. They therefore undoubtedly deserve great praise, but we cannot conceal from ourselves the result that is likely to flow from their efforts. What is the meaning of education? It simply means a knowledge of letters. It is merely an instrument, and an instrument may be well used or abused. The same instrument that may be used to cure a patient may be used to take his life, and so may a knowledge of letters. We daily observe that many men abuse it and very few make good use of it. And if this is a correct statement, we have proved that more harm has been done by it than good. The ordinary meaning of education is the knowledge of letters. To teach boys reading, writing, and arithmetic is called primary education. A peasant earns his bread honestly. He has ordinary knowledge of the world. He knows fairly well how he should behave towards his parents, his wife, his children, and his fellow villagers. He understands and observes the rules of morality, but he cannot write his own name. What do you propose to do by giving him a knowledge of letters? Will you add an inch to his happiness? Do you wish to make him discontented with his cottage or his lot? And even if you want to do this, he will not need such an education. Carried away by the flood of Western thoughts, we came to the conclusion, without weighing pros and cons, that we should give this kind of education to the people. Now let us take higher education. I have learned geography, astronomy, algebra, geometry, etc. What of that? In what way have I benefited myself or those around me? Why have I learned those things? Professor Huxley has thus defined education. That man, I think, has had a liberal education who has been so trained in youth that his body is the ready servant of his will and does with ease and pleasure all the work that as a mechanism it is capable of, whose intellect is a clear, cold logic engine with all its parts of equal strength and in smooth working order, whose mind is stored with the knowledge of the fundamental truths of nature, whose passions are trained to come to heel by a vigorous will, the servant of a tender conscience, who has learned to hate all vileness and to respect others as himself. Such a one and no other, I conceive, has had a liberal education, for he is in harmony with nature. He will make the best of her and she of him. If this is true education, I must emphatically say that the sciences I have enumerated above, I have never been able to use them for controlling my senses. Therefore, whether you take elementary education or higher education, it is not required for the main thing. It does not make men of us. It does not enable us to do our duty. Reader, if that is so, I shall have to ask you another question. What enables you to tell all these things to me? If you had not received higher education, how would you have been able to explain to me the things you have? Editor, you have spoken well, but my answer is simple. I do not for one moment believe that my life would have been wasted had I not received higher or lower education. Nor do I consider that I necessarily serve because I speak, but I do desire to serve, and in endeavoring to fulfill that desire, I make use of the education I have received. And if I am making good use of it, even then it is not for the millions, but I can use it only for such as you. And this supports my contention. Both you and I have come under the bane of what is mainly false education. I claim to have become free from all its ill effects, and I am trying to give you the benefit of my experience, and in doing so, I am demonstrating the rottenness of this education. Moreover, I have not run down a knowledge of letters in all circumstances. All I have now shown is that we may not make of it a fetish. It is not our kamadhuk, the mythical cow yielding whatever is wished for. In its place, it can be of use, and it has its place when we have brought our senses under subjugation and put our ethics on a firm foundation. And then, if we feel inclined to receive that education, we may make good use of it. As an ornament, it is likely to sit well on us. It now follows that it is not necessary to make this education compulsory. Our ancient school system is enough. Character building has the first place in it, and that is primary education. A building erected on that foundation will last. Reader, do I then understand that you do not consider English education necessary for obtaining home rule? Editor, my answer is yes and no. To give millions a knowledge of English is to enslave them. The foundation that Macaulay laid of education has enslaved us. I do not suggest that he had any such intentions, but that has been the result. It is not a sad commentary that we should have to speak of home rule in a foreign tongue. And it is worthy of note that the systems which the Europeans have discarded are the systems in vogue among us. Their learned men continually make changes. We ignorantly adhere to the caste of systems. They are trying each division to improve its own status. Wales is a small portion of England. Great efforts are being made to revive a knowledge of Welsh among Welshmen. The English Chancellor, Mr. Lloyd George, is taking a leading part in the movement to make Welsh children speak Welsh. And what is our condition? We write to each other in faulty English, and from this even our MAs are not free. Our best thoughts are expressed in English. The proceedings of a Congress are conducted in English. Our best newspapers are printed in English. If this state of things continues for a long time, posterity will, it is my firm opinion, condemn and curse us. It is worth noting that by receiving English education, we have enslaved the nation. Hypocrisy, tyranny, etc. have increased. English knowing Indians have not hesitated to cheat and strike terror into the people. Now, if we are doing anything for the people at all, we are paying only a portion of the debt due to them. Is it not a painful thing that if I want to go to a court of justice, I must employ the English language as a medium, that when I become a barrister, I may not speak my mother tongue and that someone else should have to translate to me from my language? Is not this absolutely absurd? Is it not a sign of slavery? Am I to blame the English for it or myself? It is we, the English knowing Indians, that have enslaved India. The curse of the nation will rest not upon the English but upon us. I have told you that my answer to your last question is both yes and no. I have explained to you why it is yes. I shall now explain why it is no. We are so much beset by the disease of civilization that we cannot altogether do without English education. Those who have already received it may make good use of it wherever necessary. In our dealing with the English people, in our dealing with our own people, when we can only correspond with them through that language, and for the purpose of knowing how disgusted they have themselves become with their civilization, we may use or learn English as the case may be. Those who have studied English will have to teach morality to their progeny through their mother tongue and to teach them another Indian language. But when they have grown up, they may learn English. The ultimate aim being that we should not need it. The object of making money thereby should be eschewed. Even in learning English to such a limited extent, we shall have to consider what we should learn through it and what we should not. It will be necessary to know what sciences we should learn. A little thought should show you that immediately we cease to care for English degrees, the rulers will prick up their ears. Reader, then what education shall we give? Editor, this has been somewhat considered above, but we will consider it a little more. I think that we have to improve all our languages. What subjects we should learn through them need not be elaborated here. Those English books which are valuable, we should translate into the various Indian languages. We should abandon the pretension of learning many sciences. Religious, that is ethical, education occupy the first place. Every cultured Indian will know, in addition to his own provincial language, if a Hindu, Sanskrit; if a Mohammedan, Arabic; if a Parsi, Persian; and all, Hindi. Some Hindus should know Arabic and Persian, some Mohammedans and Parsis, Sanskrit. Several Northerners and Westerners should learn Tamil. A universal language for India should be Hindi, with the option of writing it in Persian or Nagari characters. In order that the Hindus and the Mohammedans may have closer relations, it is necessary to know both the characters. And if we can do this, we can drive the English language out of the field in short time. All this is necessary for us, slaves. Through our slavery, the nation has been enslaved, and it will be free with our freedom. Reader, the question of religious education is very difficult. Editor, yet we cannot do without it. India will never be godless. Rank atheism cannot flourish in this land. The task is indeed difficult. My head begins to turn as I think of religious education. Our religious teachers are hypocritical and selfish. They will have to be approached. The mullahs, the dasturs, and the brahmins hold the key in their hands. But if they will not have the good sense, the energy that we have derived from English education will have to be devoted to religious education. This is not very difficult. Only the fringe of the ocean has been polluted, and it is those who are within the fringes who alone need cleansing. We who come under this category can even cleanse ourselves, because my remarks do not apply to the millions. In order to restore India to its pristine conditions, we have to return to it. In our own civilization, there will naturally be progress, retrogression, reforms, and reactions. But one effort is required, and that is to drive out Western civilization. All else will follow. Jai Hind. I continue with the book reading Hind Swaraj or Indian Home Rule by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Now I start with chapter 19, Machinery. Reader, when you speak of driving out Western civilization, I suppose you will also say that we want no machinery. Editor, by raising this question, you've opened the wound I have received. When I think of Mr. Dutt's economic history of India, I wept. And as I think of it again, my heart sickens. It is machinery that has impoverished India. It is difficult to measure the harm that Manchester has done to us. It is due to Manchester that Indian handicraft has all but disappeared. But I make a mistake. How can Manchester be blamed? We wore Manchester cloth, and this is why Manchester wove it. I was delighted when I read about the bravery of Bengal. There were no cloth mills in that presidency. They were therefore able to restore the original hand weaving occupation. It is true Bengal encourages the mill industry of Bombay. If Bengal had proclaimed a boycott of all machine made goods, it would have been much better. Machinery has begun to desolate Europe. Ruination is now knocking at the English gates. Machinery is the chief symbol of modern civilization. It represents a great sin. The workers in the mills of Bombay have become slaves. The condition of the women working in the mills is shocking. When there were no mills, these women were not starving. If the machinery craze grows in our country, it will become an unhappy land. It may be considered a heresy, but I am bound to say that it were better for us to send money to Manchester and to use flimsy Manchester cloth than to multiply mills in India. By using Manchester cloth, we only waste our money, but by reproducing Manchester in India, we shall keep our money at the price of our blood, because our very moral being will be sapped. And I call in support of my statement the very mill hands as witness. And those who have amassed wealth out of our factories are not likely to be better than other rich men. It would be folly to assume that an Indian Rockefeller would be better than the American Rockefeller. Impoverished India can become free, but it will be hard for any India made rich through immorality to regain its freedom. I fear we shall have to admit that moneyed men support British rule. Their interest is bound up with its stability. Money renders a man helpless. The other thing which is equally harmful is sexual vice. Both are poisons. A snake bite is a lesser poison than these two, because the former merely destroys the body, but the latter destroys body, mind, and soul. We need not, therefore, be pleased with the prospect of the growth of the mill industry. Reader, are the mills then to be closed down? Editor, that is difficult. It is no easy task to do away with a thing that has been established. We therefore say that the non beginning of a thing is supreme wisdom. We cannot condemn mill owners, we can but pity them. It would be too much to expect them to give up their mills, but we may implore them not to increase them. If they would be good, they would gradually contract their business. They can establish in thousands of households the ancient and sacred handlooms, and they can buy out the cloth that may be thus woven. Whether the mill owners do this or not, people can cease to use machine made goods. Reader, we have so far spoken about machine made cloth, but there are innumerable machine made things. We have either to import them or to introduce machinery into our country. Editor, indeed, our gods even are made in Germany. What need then to speak of matches, pins, and glassware? My answer can be only one. What did India do before these articles were introduced? Precisely the same should be done today. As long as we cannot make pins without machinery, so long will we do without them. The tinsel splendor of glassware we will have nothing to do with, and we will make wigs as of old with homegrown cotton and use handmade earthen saucer for lamps. So doing, we shall save our eyes and money and support Swadeshi, and so shall we attain home rule. It is not to be conceived that all men will do all these things at one time, or that some men will give up all machine made things at once. But if the thought is sound, we shall find out what we can give up and gradually cease to use it. What a few may do, others will copy, and the movement will grow like the coconut of the mathematical problem. What the leaders do, the populace will gladly do in turn. The matter is neither complicated nor difficult. You and I need not wait until we can carry others with us. Those will be the losers who will not do it, and those who will not do it, although they may appreciate the truth, will deserve to be called cowards. Reader, what then of the tram cars and electricity? Editor, this question is now too late. It signifies nothing. If we are to do without the railways, we shall have to do without the tram cars. Machinery is like a snake hole which may contain from 1 to 100 snakes. Where there is machinery, there are large cities, and where there are large cities, there are tram cars and railways, and there only does one see electric light. English villages do not boast of any of these things. Honest physicians will tell you that where means of artificial locomotion have increased, the health of the people has suffered. I remember that when in a European town there was scarcity of money, the receipts of the tramway company, of the lawyers, and of the doctors went down, and people were less unhealthy. I cannot recall a single good point in connection with machinery. Books can be written to demonstrate its evils. Reader, is it a good point or a bad one that all you are saying will be printed through machinery? Editor, this is one of those instances which demonstrate that sometimes poison is used to kill poison. This then will not be a good point regarding machinery. As it expires, the machinery, as it were, says to us, beware and avoid me. You will derive no benefits from me, and the benefit that may accrue from printing will avail only those who are infected with the machinery craze. Do not therefore forget the main thing. It is necessary to realize that machinery is bad. We shall then be able gradually to do away with it. Nature has not provided any way whereby we may reach a desired goal all of a sudden. If instead of welcoming machinery as a boon, we should look upon it as evil, it would ultimately go.